2, 1. We are live.
All right, what's going on, fellow park enthusiasts? This is the Park Geeks. We're back, and we are going to we're going to talk about what we didn't get a chance to talk about in our last streamcast. We're going to be talking about some of our favorite Halloween memories, because before Halloween Horror Nights, there were other attractions that were out there. Some, from what Kurt told me, one that Halloween Horror Nights possibly ripped off. But let's go ahead and get started here. But the whole gang is here. We got Kurt, Daniel, and Raul. And so let's go ahead and get this started. For me, when I lived in Buffalo, there was this attraction called House of Horrors Haunted Catacombs. Yes, they had two names. I don't know why they stuck with one. And I was just driving home, and there was always this abandoned Circuit City building that just sat there empty. And then one day I'm just driving past it, and I'm seeing this giant banner. Like, this thing must have been like 4 times bigger than a billboard, just draped over it. That said House of Horrors and Haunted Catacombs. I'm like, what the heck is that? And then I had to immediately slam on the brakes because I almost hit the car in front of me.
Ooh.
I mean, it worked. It got my attention, and I had to check it out. And I had never experienced, a haunted horror attractions like this before. And there's something to be said about these local haunts, which I'll let Kurt get into when we get to him. But I had never experienced anything like this. This was so much fun. Just going through a haunted house and seeing all the props and the scare actors. And they had more than one. It was just such a blast that I had to drag other people to it. Obviously, my mother would not go, but my dad and my brother, some of my friends, they absolutely loved it. I remember there was one that was called Body Harvesters, another one where it was called the Gas Chamber, where you had to go through a maze while the room was filling up with smoke. But the problem with that, though, was you could see everyone else in the room trying to get out. So while they did have horror actors in there, it kind of lessened the effect because the lights were on. So it's a good idea, but it would have been better if you sent in one party at a time, which normally they did do, but these people couldn't find their way out.
Oh, man.
But ever since experiencing that, I had to see more of this stuff. Because whatever you think of The Nightmare Before Christmas, that one line in the first song is true. Life's no fun without a good scare. But anyway, let's move on to you, Kurt. What were some of yours?
Well, we should start out what my first experience was, which actually is, I think I probably have the youngest Halloween experience of any of you. Let's see who wins the contest here.
All right.
My first one, this is back when I was in elementary school. As best I can fix the memory, I think I was in 2nd grade. I don't know if any of you can beat that, but I don't know if they do this anymore at schools. No. But when I was a kid growing up, the school would have a couple times a year there'd be a little fair at school on a Saturday, where they bring in a couple carnival rides and some little games and stuff for kids to play. And one year they did one in October for Halloween, and they had a quote, little haunted house thing set up for kids. And I was like, I'm in 2nd grade. I'm a really little kid. I wasn't so sure I wanted to go through that.
Yeah.
It was a really simple thing. I was really glad. Once I saw what it was and they got into it, was really nice. They just set it up indoors and actually on the stage of the auditorium, which is a fairly large stage. They had the whole thing bathed in red light, so it wasn't dark. Ooh. And there's nobody popping out and scaring you. It was just kind of the things you did. It's kind of like a little funhouse thing. So they had these really springy mattresses you had to walk across for a little bit, and they took like groups of like 10 kids at a time through. And then they had the threads hanging down from the ceilings, makes you feel like you're walking through cobwebs, and you had to put you reach into a box, and they had these little feathers in there, and they told you it was spiders and that kind of stuff. But it made an impression on me. I braved it through, because you didn't go through with your parents or anything. You went through just with other kids, and one of the school teachers who was kind of bringing you through it. But that was my first one, 2nd grade. I think it was 2nd grade.
Wow.
And I said, I lived through it, and I got out of it. I said, hey, that was kind of fun.
Oh, congrats. You're probably braver than a lot
Yeah,
of second graders nowadays.
yeah, maybe. And since then, once later in life, I got more into the amusement park related ones, which we'll talk about later. But I just wanted to give you that's my first introduction.
Hmm. Now, Daniel, you actually haven't really done something like this before. What made you stay away from it?
Oh man, short answer. Just my parents. I come from a very religious family, so the whole concept of the holiday was very taboo. So, scary movies, scary games. I was sheltered a lot growing up, even through my even through my teen years and early 20s. It was just like this stigma and this fear of the fear that really didn't want me to make me go approach. But what made me want to, kind of delve into it was I started playing some horror games, touch some bit of movies. Like I watched The Shining in 2018 finally with my cousins in Denver, Colorado, and that was a really great experience. Um, and it just got me thinking. It's like, is this really as bad as people make it out to be? And I just figured, no, it's just a valid genre that is widely celebrated, and there's much to delve into it. So now I'm kind of spending this part of my adulthood just now that I'm more independent, doing my own decisions, seeing what I missed, and I'm really excited for Halloween Horror Nights coming up. That we're now exactly 2 weeks away, so this is pretty nuts, man. Pretty excited for that event.
But you have done Halloween events before, though, right?
Just a couple, yeah.
Mm. Care to share at least one of them?
Yeah, the very first major one I did was something called the Petrified Forest. Those are haunted trails that's not too far from where I live, but it's locally run and it's done by a lot of I'm not sure about the group who does it, but they're really talented at what they do. Like even in the waiting area, they have a system where you can go grab food, you can interact with characters, take photos. Um, and it's just a well designed. They have different themes every year. Some years you get to ride like a minecart going in, walk through an actual school bus, go through like some swampland, a lot of strobe lighting, a lot of really neat practical effects, things being thrown at you, chainsaws. Like it was definitely intense the first time, but I definitely had a lot of fun. I would never have done anything like that alone. But with my group of friends, like they had a great time. I'm glad I was dragged into it, and I went a couple more times. I haven't been since 2019 though, so pre-pandemic. So maybe I'll go again this year, just check it out because it's a really good local event, and I think more people should support their local groups because
Mm.
they need the money, they need the support.
Now, how about you, Raul? What was perhaps your first Halloween event?
My first Halloween event was here in Orlando, and I'm pretty sure some of you will take a guess of which one that would be. Was Halloween Horror Nights? Because when I was growing up in Puerto Rico, there wasn't really any Halloween events like that, as far as I can remember or recall. As far as haunted houses or anything like that. So the first time I ever been to any Halloween event was Halloween Horror Nights back all the way in 2009. That was my first experience, like being scared or anything. I remember doing a Frankenstein house. I believe the Wolfman that had Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins. That film, at least that the house based on that film. There was a Chucky house and a Saw house that I did not go through because at the time I was so scared. And there was this one I remember. It was like these swamp mutant creature people in the sewers and stuff. And that was my first experience, and that's where then I got into going into other Halloween events from there.
Mhm.
How old are you again? I'm sorry.
Myself, I'm 25, turning
No, no,
26
no. I
this
mean,
year.
when you went to that event, that's what I meant.
Um, if I recall, I was in the eighth grade. That's because that was 2009.
Okay.
I think I was around maybe 13, 14, maybe. I know I was still in eighth grade because when I came to Orlando, it was still, I believe, the year 2009.
Mhm.
That's when I graduated high
And
school. But yeah, I think that's a lot of, from what I can tell, a lot of people experience their, I guess, big Halloween event around that age.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends on the parents, because, like,
Yeah.
for example, I've been going to the event enough years where I've seen parents who bring, like, their 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds to the event. And don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily agree that they should be at that event, but I've seen some kids, around that age, they're loving the scare actors. They're actually going up to them and all that stuff. So the parents, in a way, are raising them early on to, love horror and to love, scary stuff at an early age. And if it's done right, the kid, can enjoy it, be scared, but not be scared or petrified. Because there's some kids that I'm pretty sure all of us have seen where they look like they'll be traumatized. They're gonna need therapy and stuff.
That's
Oh,
never
yeah,
a fun sight.
it definitely depends on the kids. I think it's up to the parents to decide whether they should go or not. Just as a really quick example relative to that, remember the Alien Encounter attraction over at Magic Kingdom?
Yes.
I've been on it a whole bunch of times. I've been on it many times. You got like little 5-year-old kids that just think nothing of it, and they're having a grand time. The whole attraction. I've seen little kids that are just bored with the whole thing, and
Yeah.
I've seen older teenagers. I've seen like 15, 16 in going through trauma by the end of the attraction. I literally saw one older teenager, I think about 15, that couldn't get out of the seat, was just there kind of like doing this through the whole thing. Couldn't get up. I didn't
Oh
I didn't know what
man.
happened after that. But yeah, it totally depends on the kid and how they react to this and what they're used to.
Funny enough, not even kids. I've seen, or these are. Does anyone ever remember the house called Scarecrow back in 2017 in Halloween Horror Nights?
I don't think I went that year.
Okay, well, overall, that house, if I remember correctly, won House of the Year, was considered the best house of that year. Um, and it was a really good house. The team that I worked with from Dragon Challenge after Direct closed actually managed that house, so it might be a little bit biased there. But I've heard stories of like grown men, like you could say like they have the muscle arms, and you can tell they've been to the gym and stuff, that they fell on their butts in that house because they got scared real good. And we're talking about potentially guys in maybe their 20s or 30s getting scared. And remember, these are like,
Yeah.
I got muscle guys. They fall on their butts, and I laugh.
And not so macho anymore, huh?
Hey, it is kind of funny because if they act like, oh, nothing happened, I'm not scared, and then that happens, like, it's the most hilarious thing, in my opinion.
And before we continue, there is one thing I would like to tell all viewers out there, and that's if you take your girlfriend or your family to one of these things, do not scare them. Okay, that is the scare actor's job. You are literally taking away their job. Okay, I've seen that happen, and I've seen the scare actors kind of get the shovel because the boyfriend took away his role.
Yeah.
So yeah, so don't do that. It's a total prick move. But anyway,
Something I would like to add to that, and not so much is like if you're taking family members, your significant other, yeah, like let the event itself scare them because that's why you want to bring them to it. But also, do not touch the scare actors, no matter if you're going to Halloween Horror Nights, Hollow Scream, and the SeaWorld parks,
Anywhere.
or anywhere. It doesn't matter, big or small. Do not touch the actors because the actors are there in a way to help you have fun. They're not there for you to manhandle them. Because I've heard horror stories in a sense of people punching scare actors, and a lot of these actors have gone through, assaults pretty much. And
Yes, I witnessed that myself at Busch Gardens one year, Busch Gardens, Tampa.
Yeah.
There's some teenager boys in front of me, like around, I think they're around 16, 17 range. There was a group of them, and one of the actors jumped out to scare them, and I don't know if the guy was being an asshole or he's just acting reflexively, but he punched him. I mean, literally just hauled out and punched him. And of course, the police were waiting at the exit. Let's just put it that way.
Get out of here.
Because the actor immediately went off and got the police at the exit. And they're standing there waiting at the exit, and he pointed out that's the guy.
yeah.
So yeah,
honestly,
so the end of the day is if you're a veteran going to Halloween events and you're bringing somebody else, take a moment to tell the other person the proper etiquette. to have,
Mhm.
going through the mazes. Don't touch the actors. They don't touch you. Don't touch the props. They'll break and wear and tear and stuff.
Well,
And, be kind to the people around you.
I have heard of some events where the actors can touch the people, but that's like more smaller. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
matter
And also, you have to sign waivers and everything.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
matter
all
of fact,
the ones I think that they can touch you, you have to sign a waiver first, right?
Yeah.
not the one that I did. See, in New York, I think for in the city of Derby, there was uh, another local horror attraction, but there was a bonus house there that costed a little extra, and it was called Stripped Identity. And they tell you like ahead of time that if you do this, you are giving permission for the actors to touch you. But it was nothing more than that. It was never anything like manhandling or bear hugging. It was just a simple grab on the shoulder. That's it. But I was still curious to see this because, as we all have acknowledged, the actors are legally not allowed to touch you, and you are not legally allowed to touch them. Okay, that's the law. So I was curious to see what this house was like. So I paid and I gave consent. I didn't sign a waiver, but I was not going to be one of those guys. Like, don't. Like, you're here to have fun. Don't ruin it for everyone else. So the first thing they did is that they actually bound my hands in bungee cord, and then they put a paper bag over my head, and they're walking me through some room. I'm hearing like chainsaws and screams go off, and they sit me down, and then they remove the bag. And there's the scare act, just kind of like doing the Harley Quinn thing, like, so what are you doing here? Are you here to have fun? like running that finger through my hair. It's like, yeah, let's say hello to my friend. And out pops this dude with a chainsaw. Now I'm sitting down, and chainsaws make a lot of noise. It's very understandable why anybody would get scared of them. And he's waving this thing between my legs, but then he makes the big mistake. He rubs it against my leg. Now I know the illusion's destroyed. I now know this thing is not going to hurt me. And that's when I let them have it. She goes, so how do you feeling? And I go, horny.
No, yes.
And the scare, like the dude with the chainsaw is laughing his ass off so hard, he runs backstage.
Boss, what do I do?
And they lead you down through another room, and they have me take out like some sort of a bug, like some cockroach, and I had to like put it in some other person's hand, who again also paid for this. Like, they're now making me part of the show, and she goes like, say something evil to them. So I was just quoting Rammstein lyrics, which are in German. So just to kind of give it that extra scare factor.
Of course, you would go German.
Of
Well,
course.
it's my heritage. Of course, it's my heritage anyway.
Advantage.
So
No, that's your heritage, man. Of course, it's like, of course, it's German.
So I go to the next room, and keep on, my hands are still bound, and they put it up on a hook, and now I'm just standing there like, oh, what the hell is this? And one scare actor comes up to me, grabs a hold of the chain, jumps up, and licks my hand.
Disturbing? Yeah, that would definitely creep out some people for sure.
Yeah. Like, you might want to, like, do you have some mouthwash in the back?
I haven't washed my hands lately.
And then the next room, you have to lie down on a mattress, and they put a cover over you. They say, "Shh, you're trying to hide from the chainsaw wielding maniac." So I'm sitting there, and there's like two other people with me that I have no idea. They're total strangers. They're just trying to move people along, and I hear the chainsaw revving. And I'm like, this is kind of cool, but the other people behind are like, I'm like, shut up, this is so much fun. And then once that room was over, they took me at least into this room where I had to dig for a key out of a toilet. It's filled. Yeah, it's filled with water and like soggy cereal. Like, they're obviously not going to put anything hazardous in there.
Right.
But I found the key, and that's what led to my escape.
Sounds like the beginnings of a great escape room, I should say.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I absolutely love that. Like, horny. but but other than that, Curry, I remember you were telling me that there was one horror attraction that you either went to or that you knew of where if you pay to have like this yellow wristband, that tells the scare actors you're fair game. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Oh yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I forget where that was, but yeah, it's a. I actually forget what park that was. I was this. I think I told you that like 10 years ago now or something. That
Yeah.
was definitely it was years before the pandemic. But yeah,
Mhm.
it was it was someplace you go where it's the usual no touching rules, except if you had I don't remember if it was a wristband or if it was a necklace thing you wore that gave the scare actors to do more to you while you went through.
Mhm.
I
I
forget what it was.
know.
Yeah, it was something like that. So they could like I think they could touch you gently or something, or they could say harsher things to you or something.
Oh, I
Permission
forget.
to
I don't know the
roast.
exact location, but
I thought it was an interesting idea.
there was a haunted house slash escape room kind of thing where they had a scare actor chasing you throughout the house. And it's basically like a horror movie in a way. You had to try to escape the house before they would catch you.
Hmm. I might do that one if you tell me more about it.
Yeah, I just have to find information about it because I don't know if you've seen those videos of like the clown chasing the girl and the girl's trying to open the door and the clown stops and the girl's not opening the door and then the clown literally opens the door for her because she's like pushing and it's like, girl, you just have to pull. All you have to do is pull and the clown literally was like, you may continue.
uh, uh, Now, Daniel, have you done like maybe like a Halloween themed escape room? I remember you, me,
Yeah.
and some of our other friends did one. I mean, it wasn't uh, the Halloween season, but it was still set up in a graveyard. It had a spooky vibe to it. Remember that?
Yeah, so a couple escape rooms. So that was at a Doldrick's escape room. So it was a more comedic one. It was I think it was called like someone's graveyard bash, but basically we're on a game show in a graveyard and we're supposed to find clues to compete in this game show and be great contestants and figure out what the heck happened here, how did this person die, and it was just well humored. Some jump scares here and there, mainly like when you're opening like a tombstone, like some air blast in your face. You know, nothing crazy, but I found that to be really enjoyable, and I definitely want to see more about it. But there is an escape room that certainly was a bit more intense, and that was the one called Asylum that I did not too far down. I Dare to Escape, and that was a room where you start off in near darkness. You have to connect the power source, and then when you do, you have basically people outside the room, like every couple, like at random intervals, they'll go and knock on your door and scare you really loudly. You're trying to look at the things on the wall. You hear like jitterings from the other room, down this hallway, air blasts, little water trickling in. And at the very end, in the next room over, you figure out there's someone tied to a chair and it's covered. So, of course, as the escape room enthusiast, you want to uncover everything. You open it, you're immediately treated with a big, horrified body dummy in a chair that vibrates and yells and throws smoke out. So that freaked me out. That got me. It's like, oh no. It's like you don't expect this thing to be alive, and it is, and now the clock continues to tick, and I just love that sort of progression, and that's what made me think that horror and escape rooms go handheld well together. And I know there's more out there. There's one in L.A. that you're trapped in an elevator shaft. That's really really good. So Kurt, if you wanna if you have some buddies over there that want to do an escape room, that's like a top tier one I've heard for that area, and it's very horrific, but also very well done. And there's a story to it. There's 4 rooms, and they're interconnected, so you have to do all of them to see the whole story. That's the entertainment that I'm looking for, and that I'm hoping stuff at Horror Nights will impress me with on that level, because I'm excited. I'm so
Um,
excited.
there's something I would like to recommend to you guys.
Sure.
There is an escape room company near Kissimmee-ish area. The reason I say Kissimmee because it's heading down Kissimmee area. It's a little bit past Old Town, if you guys are familiar with that area. It's called Dare to Escape. I don't know if you've heard of it before or seen any promotions online. It's actually run by people who used to work with Universal Horror Nights. I believe they were makeup artists or set designers, and they actually created several like as escape rooms. Like I think it was like 4 or 5 of them they all share an interconnected story. Like for example,
Oh, nice.
there's one where you're in a freaky carnival, and the man who runs that carnival had someone who then had like relating to another part of the another room and stuff. So all the rooms are interconnected in the story, and one of them has a horror element that's called the asylum, and you're trying to escape, the asylum. There's different clues, and there's actually a portion where you have to uncover, like someone like locked in an electric chair, and there's like a body there. And at one point, it vibrates, doors are slamming.
Nice. You said Dare to Escape,
Uh,
right?
it's called Dare to Escape.
Yep.
It's in the area Kissimmee area.
I've done 3 rooms
They,
there. They're great. They're great.
yeah, they're really good.
One fond memory that I actually have with doing the local haunts up in Buffalo was there. I used to work at a Dollar General store, and I'm still just giddy as hell that I had a chance to experience something like this. I had so much fun, and I'm ringing out a mother and their son, and I'm seeing like ringing up like a bunch of like Halloween props, like plastic cleavers and stuff like that. And I pulled out this plastic knife, like, oh, I was chasing one of these things the other night. Uh, like, and the mother's like, oh, you went to that thing too, huh? Like, oh, I had such a like, I had such a blast. Like, that's good. My son's going there. I'm like, oh, he's, and she was obviously scared for her kid. And I go, don't worry, kids are smarter than we give them credit for. And this little 10-year-old boy who has his hands on my counter goes, got that right. But the mother, again, she's nervous. She's like, well, what if someone tries to hurt him? And I go, let's ask him. I go, excuse me, young man. Yes. You know that this is all pretend, right? Yes. You know that by law, the people in there are just actors and they are not allowed to physically touch you, right?
Mhm.
Yes. And you know that if any of them do, or if anybody at the event makes you feel uncomfortable, to tell security or a law officer that's there on site, right? Yes. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
and like, and the mother is still worried. I'm like, give your kid a chance to prove himself. Okay. And I was really proud of myself that I stood up for this kid who wanted, like, I can't blame the mother for being scared.
Right.
She's the mom. That's her job. But these things are just so much fun. Like, I'll never force somebody who can't handle horror to do one of these things. But when someone is interested, let them try it. I guarantee you they are going to be safe. And when I had a chance to take my dad and my brother to this thing, again, same one, House of Horrors and Haunted Catacombs, uh, they were genuinely curious because they had never experienced something like this either. And my dad had always heard of Halloween Horror Nights, but he never actually went. So we go to the attraction. I take them through the Body Harvester's maze. And if you know anything about these houses, you know that the actors tend to pop out of the corners. And we, the three of us are walking past this corner. Someone jumps out and scares me and my brother, and we go taking off. But my dad, the smartass that he is, he gets in that actor's hiding place and closes the door. So when the actor gets back to his hiding place, he opens the door and my dad pops out and scares the guy. And my dad's like, come on, I scared you. Like, Dad, you are such a smartass. You know that, right? But my dad, who's not into this sort of stuff, had a lot of fun. It's like I got to share something of mine with my family, and they genuinely liked it. That is, and we even got a picture with one of the scare actors there. That was just, that was just such a blast. And there was even another incident where there was another house in Niagara Falls that was really just one house, and it was about zombies. And at the time, The Walking Dead was really starting to pick up traction, and I wanted to check this thing out. So I walk in, and I pay to do the one house, and it's meant to be like obviously a zombie outbreak. I get scared in one room. I go bolting for the other. And I'm like, oh, God, what's this? Like, wait a minute. This is an alley. Shit, I smell a chainsaw. And out pops someone with a chainsaw. And I go right into the next room where I'm seeing a zombie who's like handcuffed to a podium. Like, I walk past him. He does the big scare. And I'm scared stiff. I'm like, ah!
Well done.
Yeah, I'm scared. Like, and even the actor, like the two actors, like, what do we do?
Move, kid.
Yeah, they're like, you're supposed to run. Yes. And then after the house, that same horror actor comes up to me and goes like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, sir, you did your job well. You scared me stiff. Wear that with pride. I mean, that's when I started to feel so alive at these things and just how much fun they were.
And believe it or not, these are not. This whole thing is a new genre almost, right? The whole idea of these haunted houses and amusement park didn't exist except for in the last few decades. This really started, in my opinion, really took off when Knott's Berry Farm did. They were the first amusement park to have a Halloween event at an amusement park. Started in 1973, has been going every year since then, except for the pandemic years, of course. And they're the ones that kicked it off. I mean, Halloween Horror Nights is not an original thing. They copied Knott's Berry Farm. After Universal sat there and saw, hey, Knott's Berry Farm is making all this money in the fall, and we're not. Nobody's coming. It's October. Nobody's coming to the park in October because all the kids are back in school, and we need a reason to get people to come to the parks. And this is where it all came from. Right? It started there, and people realized, hey, people want to, believe it or not, people want to do something in the fall. They don't just all just, back to school and the days of summer are over, we're just going to wait until Christmas. No, people want something to do in between. And that's all this whole industry for Halloween events started basically after 1973. There was nothing pretty much prior to that. This is all a whole recent thing. And look at how well it's grown. It's just amazing now. Almost every major, certainly every major theme park in the country has some sort of Halloween event.
Yep.
Everything from mild to wild.
Yeah. Did you get a chance Did you get a chance to go to the first event they did at Knott's Berry Farm?
No, unfortunately not. Unfortunately, that was before I had freedom to travel when I wanted to. I didn't go there until relatively recently, actually. Because the problem is I heard it was such a bloody nightmare with lines that it kept me away. So I ended up going to the Universal stuff and other ones first, and it was only later that after I'd done that a bit, I found they have Express Pass too. I didn't know Knott's had an Express Pass for the Halloween event. It's only after I found out they had that. I says, oh, okay.
I'm going.
Go to this now. Because you hear the usual horror stories about the lines for the mazes being like 2 hours and stuff. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, that's not an exaggeration, folks. Those lines get wickedly long. So if you want to do every house in the park in just one night, you need the Express Pass. Point blank.
Or an RFP tour.
Unfortunately, yeah. It's kind of unfortunate it has to be that way. It's kind of a cash grab by the parks, but...
Yeah, but a very good one, I must say.
Worth it. I mean, I've been hearing nothing but great things about it this year.
So we should get back to talk about favorite events here. Let me throw a couple out here really quick.
Sure, please.
Let me do something other than Halloween Horror Nights because I think other parks need credit too. One of the more innovative things at a Halloween event I saw was at my local park, Great America, the one we were at, Justin, not too long ago. Back at the backside of the park, before they built the water park, they had a couple of flume rides back there, which fortunately had been removed when they put the water park in. They had one flume ride that was fairly unusual, and it had a long water course that ran along the ground. So it had two drops, one in the beginning, and then you went along this long, twisting pathway at pretty much a ground level, and then you went up another lift and down the final plunge at the end. And the park turned that into a sort of a maze/ride, haunted ride. Yeah, so they decorated the whole queue line and the load station and everything with Halloween decorations, and the portion that went along the ground, they had sets at different here and there. There was a different set piece. That could be like people camping or something, and it's like the cabin in the woods kind of thing. And each section there would be actors hiding places, and as your log came by, they would jump out and give you the traditional scare. And I just thought that was really creative idea to take this outdoor flume ride that they had and turn it into sort of a maze kind of thing. It was very unique. Very nice. They had lighting effects across everything. It's just I thought just a wonderful idea to take a ride that they normally wouldn't run in October because most people, it gets kind of chilly here by October. So most people don't go on water rides by then. But yeah, I thought that was just really innovative. They only did it 1 year, unfortunately. But I just really thought that's such a great idea. The other thing I wanted to share was my first time at Halloween Horror Nights. I got the first time I went was the year or one of the years they were running at Islands of Adventure. I don't know. I don't know the history. Well, they did it a couple times there. I don't know if this is the first time or whatever.
Do you remember the year you went?
I don't remember. I remember I came in. You come in down the main walkway past the shops to the lagoon, and I didn't really know a lot. This is pre-internet where you could find out. You could look at YouTube videos and see exactly what's going on. So I didn't really know too much about what to expect. I knew haunted houses and stuff, obviously. But I got there, and so I come up to the lagoon area. You come up where this is about where the status board is, where it has the wait times for the rides. So you all know that spot. They had a little stage set up there, and they did like a little show there, like every 30 minutes, and it was a sacrifice. It was a live human sacrifice show.
Really?
And
I remember you were there in the year 2005 because there was specifically a year because that had the Terror Queen and the icon was technically the storyteller.
I don't remember. I was really impressed by the show because I didn't know what to expect. And the show, fortunately for me, the show was just beginning as I came in the park. And so, they're doing this kind of invocation thing. They have to sacrifice somebody to give, whatever power to all the evil spirits that are going to be in the rest of the mazes and stuff throughout the night, kind of thing. So that's kind of the setup for the thing. And so they got these the people in the robes and the hood, the big hoods, really looking kind of dangerous, kind of like the demonic monk kind of look. And there's the main guy up on stage is describing what's going on. He says, "Now we need a sacrifice." And then all of a sudden, the monks, a bunch of guys, the monks, they run out into the audience, which this is all just standing room. It's a short show. Everybody's just standing around. They run out, they look around, they're milling around people, and then they physically grab this one teenager girl who immediately starts screaming and struggling. She's obviously planted in the audience, right. So she's part of the show.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But she's screaming and struggling. They're dragging her up on stage, and the guy says, "Yes, you shall be the one," and that kind of crap. And he's holding this big dagger. And the other guys, they bring her up, they tie her down to an altar, bound her hands and her legs behind her so she's stretched out, the usual torture rack kind of thing. And the guy says, "You make too much noise," and he takes the knife and cuts her tongue out. And it was like an incredibly believable Hollywood makeup effect. This is the Hollywood makeup show on steroids at this point.
Nice.
It was a really good illusion because the guy's holding the tongue and there's blood everywhere. I mean, she obviously had a blood pack, or he slipped a blood pack into her mouth and she bit it and spit it out. And there was a lot of blood. And she's just moaning, of course. And now the guy says, "Time for the sacrifice." And he plunges the knife, obviously a rig knife, into her chest, right? And, throws her around, and he comes out, and he reaches in and pulls her heart out.
Oh.
And the heart is beating. The heart is still beating, and there's blood dripping down his hand. And obviously he broke a bunch of blood packs and stuff doing this, but it was really cool.
Yeah.
I was sitting there and says, "Okay, I'm in the right place tonight."
If you have the budget, then do it. I mean, I'm not going to give local parks. Go ahead.
Yeah, I couldn't believe this is Hollywood. This is Hollywood level special effects happening live in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
So this is cool. I really gonna enjoy this night.
Yeah, because for these local attractions, I can't blame them for not being able to go all in. It's not in the budget. But for a park like Universal Studios, bitch, you better put out a good show. You have the money.
They tout themselves as the king of horror, so they got to go all out, right?
Yeah, that was. I've never seen that repeated. I've never seen them do this live kind of impromptu show like this again. I really miss it. I wish they would. I mean, it was just absolutely fantastic. And they did it like every 30 minutes,
How about you, Daniel? Do you have any other favorite Halloween memories?
Yeah, there was actually a really cool event that happened in 2016. Like Kurt, like it was just one of those. It came in for one season and it went away, and it was replaced by something else. So there's
Mhm.
a group out there called Student Productions. I'm not sure if they're doing stuff anymore, but back in 2016 in Orlando, they had an event called When Shadows Fall. And I kid you not, this is probably the most complex, interesting event that I think anyone can really come up with because it's basically everything that Galactic Star Cruiser try to be, minus the overnight stay, of course. But you're basically in this
Mhm.
giant playground of a warehouse. There's a story that you go into. You're given a random role, and you play out a dystopian type of society where it starts kind of hunky dory. Okay, you're getting to know each of the factions, but the more the story progresses, the more you're doing. Oh no, I'm actually turning off this water supply, and I'm seeing the effect later on. There's people with effects like like dying on the ground, dying of thirst. It is just so well done, and like that's sort of like creativity in the event. I just wish would happen again one day. Like I got like when I played, I was because it's part game, part live theater experience. I was placed in like the middle class faction, but at a certain point, you can join the lesser people, or you can join the rich, and basically take like drink water like full of quote unquote drugs, and you feel like the world's spinning. You have characters come out, jump scare you, get in your face, fog as you're like going to this trance. You tie up actors. Like it was really cool. I really wish this could be the norm and done with a bigger budget because I have never seen anything like this. Um,
Mhm.
and there was just enough horror to keep me invested, but not obviously push me away just because pure shock and awe. But that's the sort of
Mhm.
complex detail and really immersion I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for in any of these experiences. How immersed can I be? How believable is it that I'm actually in this environment being scared, but also feeling at the same time like I feel like I'm in danger, but I'm not really in danger because I'm have all of you all around me.
Mhm.
So striking that balance is definitely very important. This was an event that I wish was a yearly thing because I cannot stop raving about it. I
Yeah,
think
and if I can do a follow up with that, uh, one of the benefits for these local haunts over something big like Halloween Horror Nights or Scream is because they're local. It's not one giant conga line going in.
no.
You can actually go in by party, and by doing that, it creates a sense of isolation. Like you're in there with just you and your small group of friends, or for me, just by myself. So in that way, these local haunts can be scarier because when you have more people with you, you feel like you have such a better chance. Like if that guy turned out to be a real serial killer, there's a chance he might go for the guy behind me or in front of me. But when it's just you and your small group, the chances are now slimmer. So in that way, these local haunts are scarier than, or at least can be scarier than, say, Hollow Scream or Horror Nights or Knott's Berry Farm. But anyway, how about you, Daniel? I mean, Raul, do you happen to have a favorite Halloween memory? Raul?
Yeah, so like you cut out there. What was the question?
What are some of your other favorite Halloween memories?
Um, I'm trying to. This this gonna sound weird, but this wasn't technically during Halloween. It was, I believe, it was almost around Christmas time. Let me explain. I went for the first time with my parents to Universal Hollywood because I went to California, and we actually went through something before I even realized what it was. You guys are familiar with the Walking Dead yearly house that they used to have in Hollywood?
Yes.
Well, I believe they had something similar to it whenever the movie Van Helsing came out. Because looking back, I remember going through a Van Helsing house. Because, like, I remember, the vampires, Frankenstein, basically all from that movie. Again, me, before realizing what a haunted house was and looking back at it, that was actually my first memory of going through a haunted house before I even realized what it was.
Oh, really?
Yes, and it was one of those things like looking back, I'm like, oh, I wish I could have like enjoyed it more, focused more on the details because of course that's no longer there, and I never got a chance to do the Walking Dead attraction, year round one. So it's
Yeah, neither.
something I wish I could have done, or at least remember more.
Hmm. Yeah, I never had a chance to do that either. I heard about it and wanted to, but I still have yet to go to Universal Hollywood, which is on the list. It's on the
Oh
bucket
yeah,
list. Mhm.
yeah. We're worth going to see. We're worth going to see what's different. You know, there are a few unique things there. It's a smaller park, so
Mhm.
basically have your mindset that it's not the like ginormous park you have in Orlando. Just kind of be ready. That's going to be a lot smaller.
Although
But
I'm
it has a
very
good.
excited for the tram tour. Like, if I
There is
could go right now, the tram tour.
Yeah, the tram tour is a very unique thing. That's like a 90-minute tour
Wow.
by itself. But anyway, talking about Halloween, let's talk about one that isn't quite a traditional maze. So Justin, you and I experienced one of these. Remember at Busch Gardens Hollow Screen we did one year.
Yep.
We did. They had one thing which was they gave you a gun and it was the zombie hunting maze. Remember
Yeah.
that one?
I did that one
Yeah,
too. Yes.
that was a cool idea. The reason I wanted to bring that up for two reasons: because A, it's a non-traditional maze. It gives you that a little extra something to immerse you because you got a gun you can shoot at the zombies with. It actually keep for people who have never seen it, keeps score. So it's a usual light target gun thing, and
Mhm.
the zombies are wearing little light up things, targets that you shoot at, and you shoot the target, you get a point. You get a kill. It registers on display. The readout on your gun registers a kill. So you go through this whole area, and they do that. But the one that's better is I think Busch Gardens must have gotten it from Knott's Berry Farm because I went to Knott's Berry Farm. They've been running this for a couple of years, and they had one that was just off the scale as far as your zombie hunting adventure. It was like the one at Busch Gardens, but just done way better. It was a much longer maze. I think it was almost double the length, and there was because this is a zombie outbreak, so you got the military there, and like the one we had, just the same thing. You get into a little room with a small group of people where they hand out the guns. You got the drill sergeant giving you the instructions. Okay, recruits, we gotta go out there and kick ass with the zombies and do this and do that. And you go,
Yeah.
and you go. And the door opens. They go. Hustle. And there's another person. Come on. And there's like people, and this whole thing was the only way I could describe it was organized chaos. They had this really long outdoor maze. Fortunately, in Southern California, you can do things outdoors in the fall, and it's not going to rain because Southern California, so they can have outdoor stuff. And they had all these different set pieces, like some like vehicles, and you actually one portion it was like I don't know if it was an actual train car, but it looked like a train car. They had you're going like through a train station and stuff with zombies, and you're crisscrossing. The paths are crisscrossing, and they have soldiers everywhere. They're keeping track of where you are. You're like in little groups, and you come up, and the soldiers are always to tell you to trick you which way you have to go. Hey, go for the train. Go for the train. You gotta go over that way. Watch the zombies on the side. And they'd be, always somebody telling you where to go because it's like really confusing. It was like exactly, but it's what it would be if you were in a zombie outbreak. That's what it would be, right? It would
Exactly.
be confusion, and it would be scary, and
That's
there'd be
right.
zombies all over
That's
the
right.
place, and you wouldn't know what's going on. And it was just so totally excellent. Oh man, that was
Mhm.
that particular type. That was the best one of those I've ever seen.
That's
You get to
immersion.
interact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that was really something. It was long. It was the experience was like a good 5 minutes, 5 6 minutes.
Yeah,
It was
that
long,
sounds about right.
long for me. Yeah, that was just excellent. Unfortunately, that's gone now, and so is going to Busch Gardens. So I'm hoping somebody will resurrect that at some point.
I'm sure somebody
Yeah,
will.
because I remember in Buffalo, we actually had one that was similar. But what I liked about it was I can't remember if the one in Busch Gardens did this too, but the scare actors did actually have these headbands on with little lights that would actually blink red that indicated a kill shot, which which is good because I played plenty of Resident Evil. That's when you know you got. That's when you know the zombie is dead.
Yeah.
Because when but one interesting thing that another one in Buffalo had this was part of a like 7 houses in like one building, but this was actually kind of interesting. What it was is that you were basically zombie bait. They would actually bring you into this room and strap you into a chair and blindfold you. They told you that they need to basically bring down the zombie population, and you're basically going to be bait to lure the zombies in. But don't worry, there are gunmen who are trained sniper rifles, and they will fire at the zombies. And
What could
uh,
possibly go wrong?
exactly. So, and they put these headphones on you, so you're blindfolded. You got headphones on, and you're strapped to this chair, and you hear the zombies getting closer. but then you hear like guns going off, and when someone gets like a kill shot, like something like squirts water at you like it's blood.
Ooh.
Or there's another one that will like shoot beads at you, like little plastic beads that like to like indicate it's like entrails coming at you or something like that.
Lovely.
Like that was cool and innovative. The only problem was is that it was basically a box in the center of the house of the building. So you don't get that feeling that you're being taken into like some runway to be zombie bait. You know for a fact that you're in this room. So that was the only downfall of it. But again, it was really creative, and I think we just lost somebody.
Uh,
That's okay.
Yeah. So that was again just a lot of fun. And it's what made again just making that interest in these Halloween attractions just grow on me.
Yeah.
But
well, scare zones too. We should talk about scare zones a bit. The first again, this is for some reason all that stuff happened my first time when I was in Islands that time. My first encounter with scare zones like this at this level. They had one as you're heading over past Lost Continent in that area. But something I never see. The fog they were generating there was so thick you couldn't see where you were going. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know if that was intentional or if that was a mistake. But it was kind of cool. But it was also kind of hazardous because you literally couldn't see anything in front of you. The fog was so thick in this area, so you had to sit there. I was walking really slow with my hands out in front of me so I wouldn't run into anything. And of course, there's guys with chainsaws in there too. So you're in this fog, and there's those guys with chainsaws around. So okay, that was the first time I encountered the idea of chainsaws at Halloween. So I thought, okay, this works. This works really well.
I don't think you can have a haunted event without chainsaws. This is pretty much like a staple everywhere I go.
Chainsaws is a total staple now. You can't do without chainsaws.
Yep.
It's almost
so much so. I have to share this memory with you guys. It's not one of mine, but one of my friends who helped get me into it. My friend Jeff Boots. They're walking around Halloween Horror Nights, and Raul says, "Stand by." You know, I'm going to say the story for when he gets back. He says his computer was acting up because honestly, I love telling this story. So before I do that,
Daniel.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
What's up?
Do you have another memory you'd like to share?
Another memory. So I'm going down my list over here. Okay. There's a couple more with escape rooms. I think I've been very thoroughly impressed, like the extent at which horror can be conceived in different genres. And so we talk about, very classic, with the zombies and with, monsters that we're used to in film. But there's a creepy room called Protocol Zero that's in a place called Escape Artists here in Sanford. So not too far from where I live, and very small time company. But again, as I have been pretty much this whole stream, they do a really good job with the rooms. Even with their limited space, they got in some nice jump scares, progression moments. You're kind of touching alien guts. You have things pop out of the vent. You're working on a console and like something pops out. Like I just like being surprised like that, and I just want to see more of that when it comes to rooms or just other small themed experiences. And the other one that since you brought up chaos, like organized chaos, Kurt, maybe a bit controversial to bring it up, but before I got into like the horror proper, I had the unfortunate experience of going to these things around the U.S. known as a hell house. So very religious themed haunted house. Well, they'll take you in, and they'll basically follow some teenagers going through some trauma. Insert controversial, like an abortion scene gone wrong, or drunk driving, or something. Yeah. So they play that up. It's extremely controversial. It's gotten a lot of flack, but even though I wasn't a fan of the experience, there's one scene in it that reminded me of what Kurt said, and it was just this big accident scene. Like there was one where there was like a big train crash. So all the teens that were following the story, they die in a train crash. Like we have like like a full size burning train outside. It's on fire. You have smoke. You have people running around. CPR being done on people. You see like an actor there that represents one of the teens and like a body bag, and it's just you're just walking through this. It's nonstop. Your guide slowly lets you look around a bit, but of course they're trying to pull you to the next area, and that was really cool. I think houses like that, if they can take advantage of the outdoor space, they should, because if you nail that, even though it's harder to do, it really sells it. So
Mhm.
that's the only thing I'll praise about that place, because the rest is just fear mongering. You go into a hell room, you go into a heaven room later. It's typical stuff like that. But that one scene that made me very interested in more interactive experiences later down the line, and I want to see more of it. That's what I'm looking for. And hopefully at Halloween Horror Nights there might be some outdoor scenes to gush over as well. So crossing fingers for that.
Well,
Well,
scare
yeah.
zones are
So
always like that.
All right, all right.
so go ahead and continue with about scare zones there, Kurt.
Yeah, I had one other that I really remember. Again, this is back when it was at Islands. The one year I went, it was actually there 2 years. They had one time I went. They had it at both parks. They had houses at both Islands and Universal at the same time. You had to walk back and forth. We really got you tired. I'll tell you that, going back and forth.
Yeah.
But anyway, they had in the Jurassic Park area. They had something I've never seen repeated. They had obviously dinosaurs there, and they had a cool idea. They had on the side of the walkway in the bushes was a velociraptor, full size velociraptor. It was a guy in a suit, in a velociraptor suit, and he'd be standing there, like a robot, like a cheap animatronic robot. They'd just go like a really stiff. He'd be doing like really little movement, like it was a really cheap servo controlled, robot thing. And then at the right moment, usually when a teenager came by, he would trip a switch, would set off a dinosaur roar, and then he would run out in the suit into the walkway and chase this person. It was really cool effect because people didn't expect it because they think it's just a prop,
Yeah, yeah.
on the side of the walkway, and it's a guy in a suit, and he comes out to chase you. And they had another one, which was one of those standard Jurassic Park crates that they haul the animals around in,
Yeah.
and it was open and dark inside, and you can see a pair of glowing eyes in the back of the crate making
Oh,
and
yeah.
you think everything's there, but it's actually, again, it's another guy in a suit that would jump out and chase you. You think it's something? It's just a prop. Don't worry. Oh no, it's not just a prop.
Hearing all this, I would love to see them do a house off an old Capcom game that I hope to God gets a reboot or reintroduce, just something.
Okay.
Called Dino Crisis.
I've heard of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of played. It's played in the same vein as Resident Evil, except replace zombies with dinosaurs. But the idea was that a doctor figured out how to use, I guess you could say, time travel. But rather than sending him through time, it brought things from time to this island. And what it brought back was dinosaurs. And you're stuck on this island trying to save the doctor and get out. So now I would love to see them take their Jurassic Park assets and create Dino Crisis. That sounds amazing.
I have
But
a
as far as go
I
ahead.
have a quick question. Maybe we'll save this for a topic, but I would like to know how you two, since you have more horror experience than I am with live events, how would you like to see immersion improve? I mean, because we talk about different avenues of immersion. What do you think would be the best way to really take haunted houses to the next level? Like, especially either on a grander scale or a smaller scale. Because you mentioned, being tied up, outdoor scenes. I mentioned the full people getting roles and having more interaction with the plot itself.
Right.
What appeals to you
What
the most?
what I would like to see, and I was even vouching for this when I went to the houses in Buffalo, and they asked you to take that survey of like what they could do to improve. There is one thing I kept saying to them, but they never did it, at least as far as I know, and that is to have shills or plants within the crowd, so that when the party goes through, you have someone behind you who's just there by himself, and the guy says like, "Hey, can this guy actually join you guys since he's just by himself? We can get through this line faster." Well, that guy is in on the show, and at some point in the house, an actor will abduct him, and the crowd will go screaming. That's something I would like to see, because again, the idea is to make people feel like they're in danger, like this is a close call. So that's what I would like to see. I would like to see willing participants or have the actors pose as guests to get abducted.
Yeah.
Right. That'd
Uh,
be cool.
yeah,
I
because
think the other thing that kind of makes that work too, if they're, I mean, it's really hard to do at these major events, but if there's some way they can give a good maze experience without a conga line,
Yeah.
that's really, the conga line is like, yeah, it's like a necessary evil for these events because there's just so many people that have to go through it. They just don't have a choice. But it'd be nice if there's something they could do about that.
yeah,
I don't know what the solution is because it's the only thing you could do is make like copies of the maze. Instead of having like one maze, you have like 5 copies of the same maze, so you can increase the throughput. But that's obviously really expensive and makes all the costs go up. I don't know what the solution is.
yeah, it is a necessary evil. Plus, the other thing too is that when you have that conga line, the scare actors, like, they're told to go after people who look at very skittish, and because of that, you can hear the screams coming from
The next room.
from the next room. So okay, something's gonna happen. At least if you're aware of the craft and the art as we are, it can
Well,
be a bit.
pretty much anytime you go around the corner.
Yeah.
I think that tends to be the compromise solution, right? You just have lots of turns in the maze, so you can't see that far ahead, right? You can only the maze is constantly turning every which way. You can only see like 5 people ahead of you anyway.
Yeah. Plus, the other thing too is there's got to be a way to hide that black curtain. Whenever you see a black curtain, an actor can pop out of there.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's not always going to happen. It's always meant to be a surprise. But still, when you've been to these enough times, you know where the scare spots are.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there's got to be a way to hide them. Now, with that being said, there is a negative aspect to some of these local haunts. Again, at least the ones in Buffalo that I went to, and that is because that they don't have the budget like horror that Universal has. The houses tend to stay the same. I mean, they might give it a new coat of paint and call it something else, but it's the same bloody house.
Yeah, well, even Knott's Berry Farm, they can't afford to do all new houses every year, so they typically only change 1, maybe 2 houses a year, and the rest stay the same. They just can't afford to do that.
That's why it's always good to bring someone else with you, someone who's never experienced this before, because because you get a chance to share the experience with someone new. I mean, I'll never forget when I took.
As far as I know, Universal is the only one that does all new mazes every year, except I think that one year they recycled The Walking Dead a bit too much, in my opinion.
A couple years.
I mean, I can't blame them for doing Walking Dead like 3 or 4 times in a row. It was a very hot show at the time.
Yeah, but one of the mazes was like exactly the same. That kind of disappointed.
Oh, really?
Me. Yeah, the one all the way in the back, back behind Barney, where Barney used to be.
Barney turned really scary now. All right.
Okay. We're still waiting on Raul. He says computer's acting up. But he said continue with the show. So screw it. I'm going to tell the story. Okay. My friend Jeff Boots, again, who's kind of got me into this whole thing. One year, it was him and a bunch of his friends walking through, the scare zones, and someone just jumps out of a window, chainsaw revving. His friends go taking off. And my friend stands there and goes, "Is that a Craftsman or a Black & Decker?" The scare actor walked away defeated.
Oh, no.
But again, it's because, again, like, he is a horror fan, so he knows when this stuff is coming.
Right.
There's got to be a way to amp it up for people who are, we'll say, connoisseurs of this sort of thing. Because when you do get involved, you know what's coming, but there's still got to be the ways to surprise, middle-aged guys like us. Because
it's almost like you need a secondary scare. Like the actor has to be ready. So you got your primary, which is to jump out with the chainsaw, but then it'd be cool if they could be ready with a secondary thing they could do. Like they have they have a mask under that. They could rip their mask off, and there's like another mask underneath, and it's something else, and they could do something totally different, kind of thing. Something unexpected. I don't know.
Yeah, so like one thing I've always seen horror movies do is what I call the fake out, where you see like it's setting up for a jump scare, something happens, and then it's nothing. It's a dud. It's like, yeah, whatever. But then the actual scare happens like a fraction of a second later.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I hate those.
because they always get you. That's why.
Yes.
So
Right. Yeah, you almost know they're coming. They do it so often.
so what I think they could do is that when you turn the corner, like the initial scare happens, like yeah, I saw you, and then the actual scare actor comes from behind, spins you around, and has the chainsaw on your face. But again, you need to get permission here. But that's what I think they could do to up the ante. I mean, I remember they had a scare zone for the Purge, and to be honest, like that was a match made in heaven. To have the Purge and a scare zone for it, because the whole idea was crime was legal for 12 hours for one time out of the year, and they did like live sacrifices, and of course the actors were up there playing their part. But it would be interesting to actually have an unwilling volunteer who was just plucked out of the crowd, like an actual rando who has to go along with it. It's kind of like when you did when they had what was this, the earthquake attraction, when they would actually pluck people out and then put them in the movie afterwards. It's like, okay, now you're part of the show, whether you like it or not. Now.
So about
But yeah,
these scare zones, 'cause I haven't really been up too many. Like, how often should one like linger in there? Like, are you just there to interact with the actors, just kind of take note, take pictures? You just kind of wait for things to happen to you.
Yeah, it kind of depends. It depends on the zone. It depends on the actors. So sometimes the actors will pose with you, and sometimes they'll just walk away. It's kind of like my experience. It kind of depends on they're not obligated to take a photo with you, but
Right.
if you ask nicely, I think sometimes they will. Some won't. I don't know why. Then maybe they're not in the mood or
Acting
whatever.
in character.
Character, maybe. Yeah, so it varies. I mean, you can linger. I mean, I linger around usually. If it's a good scare zone, I'll take pictures and video and stuff and linger around.
All
And
right.
they usually come up. Usually the actors will threaten me numerous times, which is fine. I'm there for it.
yeah, the scare zones I got to give a lot more credit to, because honestly, like I'm just kind of walking to the next house. I'm not
Right.
really paying attention. But when you like really kind of take a step back and look at this display, and the other thing that they do too that I really like is that they actually have that there's a composing duo called the Midnight Syndicate, and they have actually made spooky ambient music for these things. Matter of fact, they just released a new vinyl that's for sale at at the parks. I just ordered one for myself. I have the first ones up there on my wall, and it real like you don't realize just how important background music is for something like this. That's what sets the tone for it, and it really just adds another great texture to the whole thing. Like I remember walking through that one walkway that's between um Daniel, your favorite place, the Crepe House.
Crepe
And
House, man. Best
yeah.
theme park snack. Great value. Hype it up. Hype it up. Worth the line.
Yeah, he actually waited like what was it, like 30-40 minutes for a
30
crepe in that line.
Worth. Compared to like other crap you could spend at the parks, yeah. Yeah, I'll wait for that.
But that walkway where there's starting from the Crepe House to where the animal actors area is, there's that very tree heavy area, and they had like jack-o'-lanterns dangling from this thing. They had like walking scarecrows that were like maybe like 6-7 feet tall, and again you hear that spooky music going off, and it just really sets the tone for something like this. So I'm glad that. Go ahead.
Let's not forget pyro. The best scare zones usually have some pyro going on.
Fire. Yes.
Were there ever scare zones?
My early, they used it down. One year I was at Universal. They had it at Universal. It was in the Fisherman's Wharf area, the San Francisco Fisherman's Wharf area, and they had some pyro going off out more towards the water, where safely away from the crowds, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really nice. It's going up periodically. It was kind of like all this chaos going on and fire. You kind of knew you were in the right place for an event like this,
So, can I share like a possible idea, like see how feasible this is?
Sure.
I've just something to add to the immersion. I believe I heard rumors Epic Universe might be trying to do this, but to recreate a whole scene completely in black and white. How
Huh.
feasible would that be? Inside like a sheltered setting. Like take away the color. Like would
It
glasses
seems,
be required? Like I'm just curious.
I don't know. That seems very feasible, right?
Oh,
That's just
absolutely.
basic lighting. Yeah, that seems easy to do.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's actually kind of interesting to see a. Oh, there he is. There's Raul. Glad to have you back, man.
We're just talking
Yeah.
now house design, yeah, but I think just think recreating like some classic movie in that style, like complete immersion like that. Like forget the color version. You're stepping way back in time. You are now in this creepy black and white verse.
Yeah, you're in the black and white version. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
I actually it actually reminds me of another memory I wanted to share if somebody else doesn't have something else.
I got nothing.
well,
Um,
let's let Raul share some because he had computer issues. So share another memory with us, Raul.
I know this is gonna sound somewhat childish, but I do have fond memories of going to the SeaWorld Halloween event. You know, grabbing the candies from the different booths, and even my first time ever going to Mickey Not So Scary was, I want to say, yeah, it was 2019. I remember it was before the pandemic. I went with my parents, and no, wait, maybe 2018. Doesn't matter. I know it was between then. I went with my parents. My dad was dressed as Mickey, mom was dressed as Sally, and I was dressed as Jack. And we actually, the first thing we did was meet Jack and Sally because I'm a big fan of Nightmare Before Christmas. So just a chance to get to meet the characters in an event like that was just awesome to me.
Hmm.
And getting to do Pirates of the Caribbean Halloween edition, doing the Space Mountain all in the dark, seeing the parade,
Yeah.
boo and do, happy hollow. That song is stuck in my head. And then also seeing the Winifred sisters, the witches from Hocus Pocus. Uh, that Halloween show, especially seeing the classic villains like Oogie Boogie, Dr. Facilier, Hades, like all of them coming into the stage. I just love that show.
Mhm.
Okay. So they do some
Now,
shows. I just would just need tried their hand at some houses that are
uh,
family friendly. But anyway, go ahead.
but anyway, Kurt, what was the other memory you wanted to share?
Yeah, so one of the other ones was again. It's good you brought up shows. Actually it's a show
Hmm.
at a park, not Universal, not Halloween Horror Nights. It was at again Great America, of all places. They had when they had their Halloween event, which sadly they've discontinued, much to my chagrin. There was always some sort of a show, like, some sort of a live show, like a horror magic show or something, some sort of performance. They had what was it, League of Villains? They've had that a variety of times, but they had one which was really unique, and they had a Halloween themed ice show. Believe it or not, they have one theater in the park that's capable of supporting an ice stage. They can convert the stage into a little ice rink. It has a necessary whatever the necessary stuff is. They can do that there. And they do run ice shows there periodically other parts of the year, but this time they did something totally I've never seen anywhere else. There's a Halloween ice show. It was really cool. It was a really nice theme. It was the theme was it's called Blades of Horror, and the theme was that you're going into an old condemned movie theater that was allegedly haunted, and this was the last night before the theater. It's the last showing of the movies before the theater was going to be torn down because it was condemned and whatnot. And the actor an actor played the owner of the theater, would come out and tell you the history of the theater and stuff. And there'd be a big projector that says, "Okay, time to watch the movie or have some horror movies." And the projector lights up. And they had across the stage in front of where the ice rink was, they had this white sheet curtain, which is supposed the screen. Um, but they start projecting. Not from that projector was just a prop, of course, but they had other projectors projecting onto black and white horror movie scenes for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, the stage actors burst through it because they had it was just a sheet and they had slits cut in it,
Hmm.
Yeah.
vertically, so the actors could come through from behind. And so at the right point in the movie, all the actors would skate through
Nice.
the screen, and they would lift the screen up so you could see the stage, and that they had this show based on horror movies, based on classic horror movies. There was like a Frankenstein segment, a mummy segment, a Dracula segment, and a werewolf segment. I think they were being careful not to tread on licenses there. I think they didn't call it Dracula. It was just like a vampire, being careful about being licensed there. They didn't want to pay Universal any license money. But yeah, and they had segments there, and they had it was a great show, and they had some pyro in it. You had ice and pyro at the same time. Yeah, and they
Fire
actually
and ice.
lit.
Fire and ice.
Yeah, for the finale of the show, they lit the ice on fire.
Yeah, there we go.
Whoa.
That's cool.
Yeah, they had very subtly, while the other performers were skating around and doing stuff, another set of performers, when they came on stage, very subtly they had a cup in their hand, which I think probably had lighter fluid or something similar, and they would pour it on the ice as they skated across the stage. And a couple of them came out and they skated in a particular pattern to lay the lighter fluid out in the pattern that they wanted. And then when they got to the right point in the song, somebody off stage would ignite from the edges, and the flame would just come shooting across, crisscrossing across the stage. It was so cool. Like, why doesn't anybody else think of this?
I need to see a video of this now.
This is before I had a cell phone. This is before cell phone cameras and stuff. So I didn't have any way to record it, unfortunately. It was so cool.
That
and
sounds amazing.
They ran it for 2 years, which is pretty good for a show. Usually the shows change every year, but they ran this one 2 years in a row. When they filled the comment forms came out, I always begged for them to bring that show back, or think of some way to reimagine it. But it was so unique, so creative, and it wasn't just it wasn't a cheap ass shit they did. It wasn't just we'll just throw some people and have them skate around. No, it was a whole storyline they had worked out.
Oh, wow.
And with music, there was a storyline threaded through all the scenes about what was going on, all related back to the haunted theater and the fact that it was condemned and stuff. It was just and this is in a little regional park.
Just goes to show the local stuff, man. When people get together, they can make some great stuff.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I have two more here from Buffalo and one from Hollow Scream. I took my friend Lisa to one of these things, and there's a moment where you go up this very tiny flight of stairs. It's like maybe 4 or 5 steps, not that far. And you look in front of you, like you look down and you see like a bottomless pit. And the idea is that you have to walk across this wall to avoid the pits. But the wall starts pushing you towards the pit. Now, I thought this was really cool, and I then dragged my friend Lisa to it. And we start to walk across this wall. It starts pushing her. She bolts back to the other side. She goes, no, I can't do this. I can't do the pants off this place. I go, Lisa, plexiglass. She goes, oh. like, chicken shit, but you got her, guys. You got to be happy about that. I still give her a hard time about that. Lisa, plexiglass. but the ironic thing is that she started working for one of those houses after that. But again, with some of these houses, with the local ones, the less I remember hearing this line from Robert Rodriguez: the less money you have, the more your creativity shines. And when you have very limited to work with, that's when you can start to be very creative with this stuff. And one thing I saw, and again, going back to the house in Buffalo, was, we're seeing this decked out room, and it looks creepy, but there's this very fancy chair. So we're kind of like looking at all the props, and we're walking past this chair, and the chair jumps up and scares us. There's actually a person inside this chair. It's a costume.
Nice.
But you would have never had guessed it. I mean, like even the eye holes, like you couldn't even tell. Like, again, going back to creativity here, because I have to imagine this guy made this himself. And this thing they were trying to make this thing so popular that they actually made 2 independent movies about this attraction, or not about it, but what created we'll say a cinematic universe behind it. I mean, these movies weren't anything spectacular. They were just, local films. But still, you got to admire the dedication. As far as Hollow Scream goes, I went there last year at SeaWorld when they had it, and they're doing this show, something about the sirens, and they say, go by sirens, release your chaos onto the world. And I'm seeing all these horror actors, most of them women, coming right at me, walking past me, some of them with chainsaws, and I'm like, I've had dreams about this. And I hear one actress laugh her ass off and fall down. going back to what my dad said, when you can get the actual scare actor, you know you did.
They had a long night. It's like, yes, finally someone different. Thank you.
But Kurt, what was the show that you and I saw when we did Hollow Scream at Busch Gardens?
Oh yeah, what do they call it? I forget what they call their show. I have to go look it up.
But yeah, but it was basically like their version of Bill and Ted.
No, yeah, it's not really Bill and Ted's at all, but yeah, they have a recurring character which is like the doctor kind of thing, like a Dr. Frankenstein kind of guy, but not Frankenstein because that might be copyright infringement. But
depending on necessarily, because technically the Frankenstein story by Mary Shelley is one of those stories that anyone can do. It's just depending on which version, because it technically falls under public domain at that point, similar to how Winnie the Pooh is now being made into a horror movie.
Which I have to admit, I'm curious to see, just because to take a beloved Disney-esque character and make a horror film, it's like, let's see this. I gotta see it. It is so stupid. I need to see it.
They can't use the Disney design though of Winnie the Pooh. They have to do some other. I think the original.
They can use the names like Pooh, Piglet, and stuff like that, and similar story elements. But anything that was specifically made for the Disney movies or Disney lore, you can say, that of course is off limits. But the character itself of Winnie the Pooh, based on the book, that's fair game for anyone.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. We talked briefly about the show. I mean, I'm really sorry that Bill and Ted's isn't running anymore. I love that show. I like the idea that it changed. When I first saw it, again, I was at Islands, my first time at Islands. This is the one and only time I've ever seen a show in the Toon Lagoon Theater. This is where they were running it. I've never saw a show. I've never seen anything happening in that theater before, and I've never seen anything happening in that theater since. I don't know what they use that for. I don't know why it's just empty. But they had Bill and Ted's there. I had no idea, absolutely no idea what to expect. When I went in there and it started, says, "Oh yeah, this is really good. This is a pop culture satire show. This is an awesome idea."
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I mean, it's not really Halloween per se. It's just silliness, which is kind of nice.
It's basically like Scary Movie, but they're smart enough to not release it in theaters.
Yeah, that's fine. A little comedy to break up the main horror. That's great.
I always look fun. To me, that was one of the highlights of going to Horror Nights. See what they're going to do for Bill and Ted's, and see which way they're going to make fun of Disney that year. They always made fun in some way.
One other memory with my friend Lisa. Again, I'm taking her through the house, and we smell gasoline. Like, oh my God, someone's coming here with a chainsaw. Someone jumps out. We bolt for the exit, but we go the wrong way. We go backstage, not the actual exit. And the horror actor's like, and so, like, okay, we start walking down the hall, but he still chases us with a chainsaw. I was like, I'm still on the clock.
You're getting your money's worth as far as your scare. You paid for that. Yeah.
Now, but before we finish here, Raul, seeing how we lost you for a few minutes there, what other memories do you want to share with us about various Halloween attractions you've done?
Let's see. I will say the very first time I got to really do Halloween Horror Nights. This is actually kind of funny. I believe it was around 2011 or 12. My best friend from high school, and who I'm still friends with, we went to Halloween Horror Nights a couple times because we had the annual pass or the frequent fear. One of the versions of the annual pass for Halloween Horror Nights. So whenever we finished school, mainly, Fridays and some Saturdays and stuff, and even if I got lucky, some Sundays, my mom would take me and my friend to the event, and then she would wait in City Walk because she made the mistake of going to Halloween Horror Nights and never again.
Yep.
So she would rather wait for me at City Walk, even if it took like a few hours because the lines and stuff, and also considering back then the lines weren't as crazy as it are, let's say, today. And I just enjoyed it, having fun with my best friend, having some great memories from there. And I know I would say basic because mainly I'm saying Halloween Horror Nights, but that's the event I have been able to go to most. But I'm hoping to expand my circle from going to smaller haunts similar to in Old Town Kissimmee and elsewhere around Florida and the U.S. Because there's one I do want to go to. Hopefully this year I get a chance to, which is a drive-through haunted house where they give you like a blaster and you can shoot like monsters and stuff as you're driving by.
Nice.
Oh, that sounds
Heck
incredible.
yeah.
I've
I
never seen that.
believe
That's unique.
I can look it up real quick. I know it's drive through haunted house.
Now, while he does that, Kurt and I actually have
Scream and Stream. It's called Scream and Stream.
One more time?
Okay, I'm going to Scream and Stream.
Yeah, Scream and Stream. I'll copy the link and I'll send it to
Do it, yeah.
Messenger.
I've been posting links to my experience all the time, so feel free to share.
So Justin, do me a favor. I'm sending you on Messenger or Facebook Messenger, so could you post that in the stream for me?
Yeah.
Sure. Now, Kurt and I each have one more story we're going to share. I'll start. As you know, Kurt took me on a little tour of the various local amusement park attractions near his neck of the woods. Matter of fact, I'm going to have to finish the video for the Santa Cruz Boardwalk because the guy had commissioned to do it. He got a new job and now he's busy. But there was one he showed me called Fright Walk. And this one was a lot of fun. And again, because you're not conga lining in there, you can make it more intimate. And I remember there was this section where you had to come through, you had to like pick a door. Remember that, Kurt?
Yep.
One led to, one was the actual way to progress forward. Some were scares. Another one just, you thought was the exit, but it looped you right back into the room.
Right.
Like that I loved.
Yeah, that was a really fun little attraction. So for those of you who don't know, this is a self-guided funhouse maze kind of thing. There's no actors in it, but there are effects and there are trigger points. So when you pass by a motion sensor,
Nice.
it will set up a special effect. Usually something scary will pop out, behind the wall at you or something. The sound effects and stuff. So it's actually a lot of fun. And like Justin said, there's no conga line. The person at the front kind of spaces the groups out. So you go through with your group, and the guy waits until the people get far enough ahead before sending the next groups. We didn't run into anybody, which was surprising. I thought because we were lingering and looking at stuff, we thought the people behind us would catch up, but that never happened. That's a fun little attraction. That's actually the second version that they had. That's actually they tried one smaller and they remodeled that section there and they made this one even bigger than the first one. But the interesting thing was this is actually based on another one called Frankenstein's Castle at Indiana Beach in Indiana. And it's another year-round walk-through self-guided event. It's a really long one. It's way longer than Fright Walk. But yeah, they copied the thing. It has the room with the doors. But they took it to that one has gone to the next level. Santa Cruz toned theirs down. When you go to Frankenstein's Castle, when you come through the door into that room, the door you enter in locks behind you, so you can't go back out the way you came in.
Right? Yes, no chickening out.
Yeah,
none of it.
You're committed at this point. And there's more doors. There's like 8 or 10 doors in that room. Some of them you try them, they don't move. Some of them are stuck. You can't even open them. Some of them you open and there's like a mirror there or something, so you can't go there. And then there's like just said, there's one that you open, you go through the dark passage and you come back and it takes you right back into the room. And then, but the funny thing is, you try all the doors and none of them take you out.
Oh.
And now you're sitting there going, oh, okay, what do I do now? What do I do now? Because there's no conga line, there's no actors, there's no attendants. I mean, I assume there's got to be a camera, obviously, watching you, but there's nobody there to help you. And so I went through by myself, because I was on a trip by myself. I was sitting, okay, I tried all the doors. I went back and tried them all again. What am I missing here? And I got through the one that takes you through the passage that loops you back. And it was pitch black. There's no lights in there.
Oh, no.
I said, okay, so there must be, I've checked everything else, process of elimination. There must be something in here. And so I'm feeling along the walls. And all of a sudden, one of the wall panels moves. I'm in the dark here. It moves, I push it, and it turns out it's a hidden door on a spring.
Oh,
So you're in this passage that looks you back, and you got to push this open, and then you're in the hallway, which takes you on to the next section of the ride.
Nice.
And that was really clever. That was so clever. That's like escape room territory here, you know? That's such a cool idea.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
Props for
That
that.
was really fun. I had to search twice till I found that.
Was that the story you want to share, or was there one more?
Oh, that was the side one. There's one more. One more
Okay.
experience. There's one of my favorite things from Halloween Horror Nights. Is again back back when it was at Islands. They had a maze set up in the Poseidon's Fury ride. Believe it
Hey.
or not. Yeah.
They got the
Yeah,
room. I believe it.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was called.
I can look it up for you real quick.
Yeah, the theme of the maze was that apparently this UFO had crashed into this temple or something, you know, hundreds, maybe 1,000 years ago, and the whole crew died. And so the aliens were haunting this temple. So you got alien ghosts.
Terror Mines.
It might have been that. And but that's just the beginning of it. The unique. So not only is it set up that they actually threaded a maze queue through the attraction port, the walkthrough portion. They weren't using any of the show elements at all. They're just using the space. Except they did have the room with the water. That effect. They had that effect going when you entered in. So that was cool. But the unique thing about it, there was no lighting in the maze whatsoever. Zero lighting.
Oh.
And what they did is they gave about every fifth or sixth person in the line, they gave them like a miner's hat with a lamp on it.
Oh no.
And that was your only source of light throughout the entire maze. And then to make it even better, the light was programmed that if you went as you proceeded through the maze, the light would start to fail. And so now you're in darkness in a haunted temple with alien monsters, and your only source of light is failing. It was really clever. I looked at when I went through a second time. I had to go through that one multiple times. I went through it again. I looked at the helmets more closely, and there was a little sensor on top, and I think it was an infrared sensor, and there were like beams up the roof beaming down that would tell the lamp how to behave in that area. So like it would start, the light would be totally on, and then you go a bit further and it would flicker a little bit every now and then. It would flicker off just really briefly, not too much to worry about. And then you go further and the light would flicker more. And then as you progress, the light would be more off than on as you go through the maze. And there's like, you don't have any control over it, and you're just there by yourself unless you have the lamp. You know, you have no choice but just to stay close to the person in front of you to see where you're going. I thought that was just so creative, and I thought that was just so much fun. It was just so different.
Somehow
Of course, they had the scare actors.
Yeah.
You know, they had people in alien ghost monster alien costumes along the way, and they look like they kind of be in makeup. They look like fake corpses, like they'll be sprawled back like fake corpse. But then you come here and they lunge for you. You know, just as you come up in the light. As soon as the guy with the light would shine the light on him, they would lunge at you. And it was just, it was so much fun. I just love that one.
God, that sounds like a blast. And hopefully Daniel will have a similar experience when he tries his very first Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, hopefully they'll have good things like we talked about. Good
Yeah, I'm hoping for it. Hoping it's a good.
And hopefully
be sure you take
rain.
notes. Yeah, be sure you take notes there, Daniel, because our next episode is going to be Daniel's first Horror Nights. So we're going on the 22nd. So
Right.
this episode's going to be a little late, but I am curious to see his reaction to this. I am curious to see what his thoughts are on the houses, on the scare zones, on the shows. But one thing that Horror Nights has been doing as of late, and Daniel actually did experience something like this, is they're having some of the creative minds behind Horror Nights do meet and greets. And I absolutely love that. Because theme park entertainment has come a long way, and there's a lot of people who I don't believe get the credit that they deserve. Whether it's the artists, the people who design the houses, the people who make the music for it. And we got to meet some of the artists. Like, I know you met Andrew Stonecipher,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if there was anyone else.
Nope. He just signed a magnet.
Yeah, he signed a magnet for him. And it's just said, "Welcome to the annual pass family."
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that. Because like I said, they deserve so much more credits, and hopefully
They
they'll.
also, they also released an article showing the woman who helped design the pumpkin, the little Boo character.
Oh, nice. So the next time you guys see us, we'll be doing Daniel's first Horror Nights. So until then, this is the Park Geeks signing off. Take care, everyone.
See ya.
Bye-bye.